What's up, people? I'm Shaggy, the Opinionated Hippie. Going to do a deep dive into the Doobie Brothers studio catalog right now. Going to rank the albums. Going to start today with the 8 albums they did in the 70s, then probably break up the rest of the albums into 2 other videos. They have been on my list since day one. They are referenced in Frank Zappa's Carolina Hardcore Ecstasy. Listen to the music. Listen to the Music is a Doobie Brothers song. Plus, in this deep dive, as I found out, is Novi Novag, Novage, N-O-V-O-G, I think is how the last name is pronounced, plays with the Doobie Brothers, and she also played with Frank Zappa. She was in the tour on the rehearsals for the Fall 75 tour. You can hear on Joe's Camouflage some of her playing, but never made it to an actual tour. But there is another Frank Zappa connection. Plus, Randy Brecker also played with the Doobie Brothers. He played at the Zappa in New York 76 shows. I know the Doobie Brothers from the 70s a lot. My mom was a big Doobie Brothers fan. Probably one of my like formational musical experiences. One of the very first times my sister and I were left alone without a babysitter was so that my parents were divorced, my mom could go see the Doobie Brothers in concert. I specifically remember that's why she went. She ordered us a pizza. We ate the pizza. And then my babysitting duties were essentially nothing because my sister just went to her room and played and eventually fell asleep. So I went to my room, grabbed all my mom's Doobie Brothers cassettes. She had them all on cassette. And I listened to the Doobie Brothers for like hours, trying to imagine what it would be like to see this band live and experiencing this music and deep diving into it. So it was one of the first bands that I really got into. And I didn't have the terminology back then to know, oh, this is like country rock, this is a little jazzy, this is a little bluesy. My musical knowledge was not there. But I recognized there was a lot going on and a lot of variety, and I think that I like that. So anyways, I like these albums. I don't think any of them are bad. The Doobie Brothers can't say they're the most ambitious band in what they're doing musically, but they make really good country, Americana, rock, 70s music. And their albums are wonderfully eclectic and they can do some good melodies. Their harmonies are fantastic. And then Michael McDonald joins and the vocal sound becomes even better. Anyways, I'm going on for a long time. That's all I'm going to do. I'm going to go from 8 to 1, talk about these albums. I'll put up the list at the end, and then we'll do the rest of them in another video in a couple days. So let's get on to number 8. Number 8 would be their debut album way back in 1971. No way a bad album. Their sound is here, at least as far as that sort of country, Americana. Harmonies are fully here. Band sounds good. I just think there's not really a song on here that really stands out. It's just this is one of those albums. They have a couple albums where I think they're not going to convert you into being a Doobie Brothers fan, but if you're already a Doobie Brothers fan, you're going to enjoy this. And I think that's what the first album is. It's kind of nice to hear, oh, wow, from the beginning, like certain parts of their sound are clearly there. The highlight in this album is probably a song called Greenwood Creek, which just has this really nice, comfortable country rock flavor, slight rock vibe. It's just a great 70s country rock song with a really nice bounce. The opening, Nobody, they tried to get it to be like a hit a couple times in their career. It's a pretty good song, some scrappy electric guitar in there. It's got that very early 70s American rock style, like the Guess Who a little bit, that kind of vibe. But the harmonies are just absolutely amazing. The vocals are so good. We got some country rock in here. We got a nice song called Feeling Down Farther, which has just that kind of a guitar intro that's reminiscent of like Long Train Running, but we're not quite to Long Train Running yet. But you can see that direction of that ability to write those kind of hits. A weird little song about Utah. It's called The Beehive State, which is Utah. It's the hardest rocker on here. It's got this almost Leonard Skinner type Southern rock opening like riff, not quite as hard as that. But it's about Utah. We can make you great. How can we make you great? Interesting little vibe. And then a nice little ballad that kind of builds really nicely towards the end called Closer Every Day. And then we get to close out Chicago, a nice little acoustic back porch, instrumental. The guitar picking, like the finger picking on the guitar stuff, and anytime they drop into sort of this acoustic back porch down home Americana like jam session type thing where they play like really beautiful acoustic numbers, always highlights. But their first album, it's an enjoyable album. I just think other than Greenwood Creek, nothing really stands out as something that maybe you would playlist. But I think it's a strong debut. That would be my number 8. My number 7 is What Once Were Vices Are Now Habits. This is their 4th, came out in 1974. The only real hit that came off of this one was Blackwater, which is just an absolutely fantastic song. Oh, Blackwater, keep on rolling, Mississippi Mom. I think the first time I heard this song, and one of my formative memories of this are the Doobie Brothers appeared on an American sitcom called What's Happening. It was a show about bootlegging, against bootlegging. I think they played this, and then they played a Michael McDonald song. Maybe Taking It to the Streets were the 2 songs they played, but I have strong memories of that. This one has a lot more guitar rock energy than some of their other ones. I think that after the success of China Grove on the previous album, seems like they really lean to that kind of hard rock energy. And I think we lose a little bit of the balance of what makes these albums so enjoyable. This is one of the ones that Novi Navag plays on. She plays viola on Blackwater, of all things, one of their biggest hits. But yeah, there's some interesting stuff. We get some horns on here. The second song, Spirit, has this almost really nice acoustic driven, almost like Fleetwood Mac's World Turning type vibe, just that kind of low kind of energy that's pretty good. So a little country fiddle comes in there, courtesy of Novi. Pursuit on 53rd Street has like a China Grove type rockin' energy, starts off with a riff like that. Really good song called Eyes of Silver, kind of a tight, funky little rocker that has horns. The Doobies are just bouncing right here. Another song called You Can't Stop It is pretty good. All of these have a lot more guitar-driven funk energy, some nice horn use. I just think, I think the lack of variety hurts the flow of the album, because that's one thing I think they're really good at. The closing song, Flying Cloud, is this like tasty little instrumental that kind of flirts with proggy vibes. That kind of feels like a flying cloud on like a spring day, and you're just watching one cloud just joyfully fly. But yeah, not a bad album by any stretch of the imagination. I do just think this one and number 8 are just maybe a step below everything else. And I think everything else is, all the remaining 6 are pretty more consistently interesting from start to finish than this one. But that would be my number 7. What were once vices are now habits. And then my number 6, we enter the Michael McDonald era. It would be Minute by Minute, their 8th, the last one they released in the 70s. This is straight up yacht rock by this point. That sort of blue-eyed soul, that Michael McDonald white funk. What a Fool Believes is on here, which one of the greatest yacht rock songs ever written in the history of yacht rock. Absolute stone cold classic. That line, she had a place in his life. I love that line. And then what's the other one? That no wise man has the power. Like those falsettos, just absolutely banger of a song. But like this album, what's happening with my voice? This album kicks off with Here to Love You, which is just absolute. The drums come in, and then the piano, and then you got this bounce, and Michael's voice drops, and you're just like, absolutely great yacht rock intro. There's a sax solo that works. Then we get What a Fool Believes. Then we get Minute by Minute, which just has that Michael blue-eyed soul vibe. Then we get Dependent on You, which is catchy Doobie Brothers pop rock. Don't Stop to Watch the Wheels. We get a little boogie rock energy right there. Nice little guitar riff that drops like 2/3 of the way through. That's cool. Even though this is a rockin' song, it's definitely a little more subdued than some of the rock stuff on their previous albums. Open Your Eyes has this awesome bouncy groove. Sweet Feeling, we kind of calm down, a little more innocent. The title works. This song sounds like what a sweet feeling would musically sound like. We get the awesome Steamer Lane breakdown, sort of an acoustic rag with this great jamming energy. I wrote that this redeems all else. Like, this thing is absolutely fantastic. Like, this is like calling back to the earlier acoustic things amidst all this Michael McDonald like yacht rock. We get You Never Change, sort of a slow white boy synth funk jam, some nice low key tasty guitar. And then the awesome closer, How Did the Fool Survive, which has some great, I think Jeff Skunk Baxter is in the band at this point. We get some really nice jazzy Steely Dan guitar. We get some Steely Dan flavors definitely in the Michael McDonald Baxter era as they're bringing some of that jazzy Steely Dan 70s vibe into the Doobies. But this is a strong album. I do think the overwhelming Michael McDonaldness of it all maybe drops it a little farther just because we become a little too homogenous among the selections, though I think they're all really strong selections. And this is a strong album. So this is a strong album. These top six, I think, are great starting points, any of them. But for me, this is my number 6, their 8th, Minute by Minute. My number 5 is their 7th, 1977's Living on the Fault Line. I don't think this album gets the credit for being the strange little number that it is. There's a lot of weird little like random pocket jams in this in which they kind of go funky or they get quiet and go a little proggy. Just some kind of interesting stuff. And there's a lot of Michael McDonald. It's kind of a super fun album. I think if anything, as the previous one, it sometimes is just Michael's taken over a little too much, but that's the direction of the band. The opening song, You're Made That Way, just your typical Michael McDonald keyboard, like pop funk vibe, white boy soul chill vibe from the very start of this album. It's a comfortable song, not a great song, but it's definitely a comfortable song. Echoes of Love, which has that 70s synth intro. This was kind of hit for them. Poppy little number. I do like the falsetto in here. One of my least favorite of their quote unquote hits. Little Darling, which is super just pure pop candy, absolute classic. You Belong to Me, another absolute genius of a song. Michael is just dropping absolute like yacht rock classics back here. You Belong to Me, absolutely amazing. Little trumpet sneaks in at the end. That's absolutely a winner. You don't have to prove to me you're beautiful to strangers. Love that line. Living on the Fault Line has this awesome kind of low-key, loose groove. The song itself, when like the vocals come in and the melody comes in, I don't kind of care for, but I really like the like instrumentation and everything that's going on below it. And then it drops into this weird middle jazzy like section with like some Steely Dan jazzy guitar. We get a little marimba solo, like just weird little things happening in the middle of these songs. Nothing But a Heartache, just a Michael mid-tempo synth pop. Awesome song called Chinatown. Just really weird, interesting vibe that kind of doesn't work at first. And then it drops into this like super calm middle section that kind of wins me over. And then we get this funky section with some keys and some guitar. Then we got some Steely Dan vibes. And we go back to kind of all over the place. And maybe not all of it works. But I like this sort of attempt to do a lot of different things. There's a Light. We get a Michael ballad, some nice Stevie style harmonica. And then another awesome song called Need a Lady, which is just some funky R&B. I think the bass player sings lead on this. Really soulful, really funky. Great bass playing. And then we close out with another like acoustic like little number, like old school Doobies type to drop it at the end called Larry the Logger Two-Step. Super fun album. Some super interesting musical decisions going on in the middle of these songs that keep them fresh. The Michaelness of it all. Definitely Michael has put his stamp on this band. Sometimes it absolutely pays off. You Belong to Me, home run. Some of the other songs are maybe more just average Michael McDonald, but if you're a Michael McDonald fan, it's Michael McDonald. So that would be my number 5, their 7th. And my number 4 would be their 6, Taking It to the Streets, the one when Michael shows up. We open up with a song called Wheels of Fortune, which Michael does not sing, so we're not immediately introduced to Michael. I'm not even sure if he does like backing vocals or if we hear him. But Wheels of Fortune, really cool song. Awesome, really groovy, funky middle jam. Like we've definitely put our foot into that white boy funk thing. There's a keyboard solo, there's a guitar solo, the bass is super funky. It's got some like legitimate 70s rock energy. So we get this awesome opening track. And then the next song is Taking It to the Streets, another Stone Cold classic. And you just get that soft intro, you got the percussion, you're laying down the instrumentation, and then right when we're into the song, you don't know me, and you were like, Michael drops his voice for the first time, and you're like, oh yeah, this is a whole new era for the Doobies. Just a great song. Another song called 8th Avenue Shuffle, which is like this really upbeat shuffle that also drops into sort of this cool middle section that gives us like a new medley, a new melody, and a kind of a different vibe. There's lots of guitar in this. It kind of jams out. Lots of really cool pockets of ideas throughout this song. We even get some Steely Dan jazz guitar for the first time. Losing End is like it's like this Michael 70s soft rock vibe, but then you get this weird jazzy psych guitar edge that's kind of muted, but this sort of like just motif or theme that just kind of goes throughout the whole thing. Novi is on this on her violin, but that guitar riff that just goes through this entire song just flirts with like some 70s psych energy that's really, really cool with just some Michael McDonald white boy soul floating over it. Don't know what's happening in my voice right now. We get a song called Rio. Very, very yacht rock vibes for this song. For Someone Special, really low, moody vibe. Nice horn solo. It's like a cool late night vibe. You're dedicating this to someone special late at night. Song kind of wins me over by the end of it. I don't think it starts off too like, okay, this is going to be interesting. But the vibe just kind of gets under you after a while and it just kind of keeps going. Absolutely works. One of my all-time favorite Doobie Brothers song. Still think it's a weird song to the day. It Keeps You Running. It's got that weird little like almost machine-like rhythm section. Those keys, the vocals. I don't know. It was on the FM soundtrack, which was a movie that was released in the 70s that my family just obsessed over. Absolutely fell in love with the song. We get Turn It Loose, sort of a less exuberant Take Me in Your Arms, and then a Carry Me Away, which is a nice poppy, jazzy guitar type closer. Super strong album, super fun album, some actual Stone Cold classic songs. Michael is well balanced in the mix, so we're still getting other elements of Doobie Brothers. My number 4, their number 6. Really good album, Taking It to the Streets. My number 3, we go all the way back to their second album, Toulouse Street, released in 1972. 3 absolute classic songs on here that we all know. Opens up with Listen to the Music, which is just fantastic. The production on here, the way they kind of like I don't know what the effect, there's an effect they use on the drums that gives it this weird reverb quality. The little breakdown in the middle, awesome. Rocking Down the Highway, which is sort of the template for a lot of the rockers that they would play later on. Just that kind of really good 70s rock energy. And the lyrics are about outrunning or hiding from the highway patrol. So we get a really nice, strong Smokey and the Bandit vibes. Back in the day when cameras weren't everywhere and people used to talk about, hey, I'm just going to outrun the cops. Yeah, what a different time we lived in. And then Jesus Is Just All Right With Me is on here, which is just another classic. There's a lot of references to Christianity, like minor ones, not like in your face type things on these first couple albums. I think there's a song on the first album which kind of mentions God and spirituality. So Jesus Is Just All Right With Me might be a sincere rocker, like honoring Jesus. There might not be anything tongue-in-cheek to it, but it is so fantastic. That middle section that they drop into, absolute classic rocker. And everything on here is just good. Mama Loy, this sort of acoustic country, Caribbean island vibe, really nice. Really nice, the sequence of these songs. We kind of get a different flavor in every song. The title track, nice finger-picked acoustic gentle ballady type thing. Some great harmonies, almost a Crosby, Stills and Nash vibe to this song. I think there's a flute or some kind of like wind instrument that gets played at some point. Cottonmouth, we got some horns come in. This is an R&B bouncing type song. It's a Seals and Croft cover. Don't Start Me Talking, more horns, more R&B bluesy vibe, really nice guitar solo. Jesus Is Just All Right. White Sun, nice acoustic, finger-picked, showing off their gentler skills. And then this Absolute near epic 7-minute bluesy southern rocker called Disciple. Got some weird lyrics about something weird is going to happen tonight. There's somebody with a silver cape and eyes of red, and it's some story threatening with danger, but it's like loose and it's jammy, and they're kind of stretching out a little bit on guitar. It has almost like an early Allman Brothers vibe. Really cool song. And then we close out with Snake Man on My Trail, an acoustic little back porch bluesy finger picking little ditty. Super strong album. They're second. 3 absolute classic songs. And the rest of the stuff I think is really good and shows off the variety of what the Doobie Brothers are going to do in the first part of their career before Michael McDonald joins and we head towards more of a white boy, blue-eyed soul funk section. But anyways, Toulouse Street, my number 3, a really strong album. My number 2 is their third, The Captain and Me. This came out in 1973. This one has Long Train Running on it, another absolute classic. Without Love, I mean, just everything about it. That opening riff, the bass comes in, the harmonies, classic song. China Grove is on here, probably their best rocker. Just that, I mean, that opening riff is absolutely amazing. Down Around San Antone, it's a sleepy little suburb about 15 minutes from where I'm sitting right now. Kind of just out in the middle of nowhere. We're on the fringes of San Antonio is where that is. It's a really nice disc golf course out that direction. That was a hit. Without You was sort of a kind of a hit. But everything else on here is just also just super, super fantastic. Opens up with Natural Thing, which is just, it's a natural thing that we all got to be loved. It's bright, it's upbeat, it's like a Doobie Brothers pop rock song that just sets the stage perfectly for the rest of the album, which is going to go a lot of different places musically. Natural Thing, Long Train Running, which is kind of maybe the most perfect blend of all of their skills. That almost like low-key, funky ended jam. Move it down, move it. I mean, just absolutely amazing. China Grove, that riff, the piano coming in. After that, we get the song called Dark-Eyed Cajun Woman, which is like this slinky acoustic country blues with like some organ work. A nice electric guitar solo comes in there. Excellent. Like we're getting 4 different flavors so far as we move through this. Clean as the Driven Snow. Another just absolutely amazing song. Finger-picked acoustic back porch vibe, very Americanic acoustic, and then the tempo kind of picks up as we move on through. Things get moving. It almost feels like this like mini acoustic epic. We get some, it shows off their skills. We kind of get a little electric guitar at the end. It's just this, it is the Doobie Brothers firing on all cylinders and bringing that sort of acoustic-based Americana 70s rock that they do so well. Without You, just a DB rocker. I think this was a hit. South City Midnight Lady, early, just an easy, laid-back acoustic vibe that's absolutely fantastic. The chords, there's like a little progression, and there's a couple chords at the end of this that I think it's If Not For You. I think it reminds me of a Dylan song. I think it's if Not For You. Like it's not that close, but it's similar enough to every time I hear this, I think that's what it is. I like the lyrics. It's about like you're sitting up at night drinking whiskey. You're tired. You end up going to bed, and there's this lady that makes everything worthwhile for you. It's just got this great 70s country soft rock vibe that I like. Evil Woman, heavy guitar rocker, kind of fun. Great drumming in here, some pretty heavy energy for this band. A little bit heavier than China Grove, maybe just not as successfully rocking. Busted Down Around O'Connelly Corners, nice little acoustic instrumental. Ukiah, we got keys entering for the first time, but they kind of work. It's kind of a calming pop rocker with some really interesting changes and mood changes throughout it. Just a great vibe. And that segues right into the final song, The Captain and Me, the title track, this acoustic finger pick thing in which the energy just kind of builds and builds and ends on a really nice upbeat, feel-good type vibe. Strong album from start to finish. There's really not a weak track. They vary sort of, we get rockers, we get acoustic stuff, we get Americana, we get some like pop rock, like all the flavors are there. What makes the 70s so awesome is that bands really felt like a little more freedom to experiment and dip your toes in several different genres without people getting confused. It was expected. And then my number 1 would be the only album that's remaining, their 5th, Stampede. It only had one hit off this album. It was kind of undersold. And I think it is the reason why it is my number one, not because I'm purposely trying to pick it, but because as I got into the Doobie Brothers early because of my mom. Probably by the time I was in college, I was probably not listening to the Doobie Brothers anymore. But I got tired of listening to the hits over and over again. My mom also owned their greatest hits. So a lot of these albums, this one only had one song on it. So I didn't get tired of it. I wanted new stuff. So I listened to this a lot and it kind of seeped under my skin. The one song though is Take Me in Your Arms, which might be, I think it's an underappreciated absolute stone cold classic. Like it is such a feel good song. You just want to clap and sing, and it's almost every band should play this as an encore number because I think you would just leave the place smiling. I absolutely love this song. To me, it's an underrated Doobie Brothers classic. Opens up with Sweet Maxine, which has this really nice piano and this guitar riff, and then we drop into this very Doobie Brothers rocker with horns, kind of this funky middle section, all these different parts of what the Doobies do on more of like a upbeat rocker energy are here. Next is Neil's Fandango. Very lively little song as a fandango should be. This has some great loose, almost jammy Allman Brothers type energy throughout this. But yeah, this is absolutely an exhilarating, fun little country rock Americana fandango vibe. We get a Neil Cassidy reference, get a Santa Cruz reference. So we're talking about Neil must be Cassidy, so it makes sense that this is so hectic and crazy and speeding down the mountains without your headlights on type vibe. And then we go from Northern California, which is where I once lived, to a Texas lullaby, which is where I moved to after North Carolina. So this literally follows my journey, though it wasn't back in 75. But I like that. This just has a really nice, comfortable, upbeat vibe. This is not a Texas lullaby in the summer because it is currently summer here and it's relatively early in the day when I'm filming this and it's already like 90 degrees outside, miserable. This was obviously written in Texas while sitting in a field on one of those 2 or 3 days in November when the temperature's nice. So that's probably when this song was written. Music Man is next, which we're flirting with a little disco here. We got a little dance vibe in here. We got a little cheese factor in here, but it kind of works. And then there's a guitar solo that ends up being like a rather normal guitar solo, but the beginning of it is this really kind of weird and has this weird effect, and it's a little more playful than the Doobie Brothers normally are. But yeah, it's a little bit cheesy, but it's a good song. A Slack Key Soul Rag, we get an acoustic little number, always sweet when they do this. Take Me in Your Arms, a classic. Then we get I Cheat the Hangman, which is just, has this haunting, almost reminds me of like if this was a Crosby, Stills and Nash song, this would be like a David Crosby type number, one of those darker, more psyche, a little bit menacing type vibe. I Cheat the Hangman, so it matches, the title definitely matches. Get this super crazy, almost prog ending with what sounds like an Alan Parsons led synth jam. That's fantastic. I think a trumpet is what it is that comes in and we get a trumpet solo. Like, this is one of the most left field pieces of music that the Doobie Brothers do, if you know like their hits and everything else. But it is a little proggy, it's a little jammy, it's a little more experimental, it feels, but in a Doobie Brothers way, not in like a music way. For them, it's slightly different. Absolutely amazing song, I Cheat the Hangman. That's followed by Precise, no E at the end, so in a different language. Acoustic, delicate, perfect choice to follow I Cheat the Hangman. And then we close out with Rainy Day Crossroad Blues, which is like nice acoustic with some bouncy, good percussion energy in there. It's just like a beautiful country chill jam to close out the album. Oh no, we got 2 more songs after that. Then we got I've Been Walking on You, nice taut bluesy rock vibe, loose fun. This has a very Southern rock, Allman Brothers kind of loose jammy vibe. And then we close out the album with Double Dealin' Four Flesher, which is like a boogie band, bar band, sort of a Grand Funk Railroad meets Thin Lizzy type rocker that Doobie Brothers are now doing. This weird little middle section that kind of has some proggy keyboard work. Then we get some jazzy stuff. Then we go back into some boogie bar energy. This absolutely fantastic album. It's all over the map. You're getting a lot of different flavors. I think the one hit on here completely underappreciated. It's an album that's rich with goodness, and I think repeated listens, the flow of the album, everything about Stampede, their fifth album. I think that makes that their best. That's what the albums look like in typewritten form. I really think the only two that are, I would say the bottom two on this list, the self-titled debut and What Once Revises, are for me definitely weaker than the other six. And the other six, depending on the days, like I think they're all really strong Doobie Brothers listens. This band is just, it consistently delivered in the 70s, some great stuff. We got one album in the 80s that I know, and then we'll do the rest of the stuff. But yeah, that's all I got for now. Let me know your thoughts on the Doobie Brothers, on this band, on all that kind of stuff. You know how comments work. Subscribe, like, share, comment. And if you're not into the Doobie Brothers, start off with anything in the top six on my list, because I think those are all really good outings. And then explore those other two, because they're not bad by any stretch of the imagination. All right, I'm done. Peace. Talk to you later.